Hi, and welcome to this very first video of our very first module in our MOOC on the miracles of human language. Finally the fun can begin, finally we can start exploring the basics of human language together. Now this course is all about variety because that's what human language is all about. It's all about diversity. But we will also look at things that are the same in all languages. This particular module is our introduction. And that may mean that it's actually the most important module of all, because we're going to define our field of research by asking certain questions. Questions such as, what is language? Do animals have language? How many languages are there in the world? How do we count those languages? How are they related to each other? What do linguists do? How do they get their data? And what are informants? In this first video, we're going to look a little bit at animals. Do animals have a language as well? Well, it's clear that animals communicate. So your cat may communicate to you a little bit, or chimpanzees in the zoo may clearly talk to each other in some way. But it's also clear that there are differences between animal communication and human communication. Your cat, she can communicate maybe some of her needs to you, but you will never be able to have a full conversation with her. And apes, they may have even more complicated systems of talking to each other, but they will never teach a MOOC about ape language. We have more signs clearly than those apes or cats. We have more words. But is that the only difference? Is the only difference that we have more? Well, obviously the answer to that question is no. And we're going to look at 3 dimensions in which language, human language, and animal communication are different. Those 3 dimensions are discrete infinity, displacement, and joint attention. Don't worry, I'm going to explain all 3 of them. First, discrete infinity. That maybe sounds a little bit complicated, but it's actually quite simple. Discrete means limited or countable. A discrete system is a system with a limited number of things in it. The alphabet is an excellent example. English has an alphabet of 26 letters. It's a limited, discrete set. But with these limited items, you can make many different words. And with those many different words, you can make many different sentences. How many? Well, I would claim infinitely many. Any thought which gets into your head, you can express. And there's infinitely many thoughts, probably. I can also prove it, that there's infinitely many sentences. Because if there would be finitely many, there would be one sentence which would be the longest of this finite set. Now I could take that sentence and say, Pete says, and then that sentence. That would be already longer. And I could repeat that procedure. I could say, John says that Pete says that, and then our longest sentence. Mark says that Pete says that John says, and so on. Admittedly, those sentences would not be extremely interesting, but they would be longer and longer and longer. Infinitely long, as a matter of fact. Now, not so for animals. Apes also have a discrete system of calls, just a limited number of calls. But they cannot combine them to make more and more complicated systems. They only have a limited number of combinations. The second difference with animal communication is called displacement. We, humans, can talk about our here and now, but also about things far away, in the past, on the moon, or even about completely abstract things which we have never seen and will never see. Most animals don't have that. Bees can communicate about space because they can dance and wiggle and show other bees where to find their honey. It's a lovely system, but it's very limited. They can only talk about honey they have really seen. They cannot talk about some abstract honey on the moon or something like that. And finally, there's the notion of joint attention and shared intentionality. We humans work together as a team very often. We work as a team where we have a shared goal and each has their own role in achieving that goal. in order to be able to do that, it means we have to read each other's minds a little bit. We have to see what the other person is trying to do so that we can help that other person in achieving that goal. Language helps in that. Language is inherently cooperative. But for animals this is very different. Some apes have joint attention. It means they can look at the same thing and maybe be aware that they look at the same thing, but they don't work together in this very complicated way in which we humans can do so. We have now seen in this video that animals do have systems of communication, at least some kinds of animals do, but that they're always different in certain key aspects from human language. These key aspects are, first, that humans can make an infinite amount of messages with this limited set of building blocks. Second, that they can talk about things other than the here and now. And thirdly, that language is a fundamentally cooperative tool for humans. In the next video we will look a little bit further at what language is. Is it really true that all humans have language?